because the one thing I believe in is an eye for an eye. Now You See Me 2 is a sequel to Now You See Me that came out in 2013. This came out in 2016. And the reason we got Now You See Me 2 is because Now You See Me cleaned up at the box office, $75 million budget, $351 million in the worldwide haul. And yeah, that's why we were going to get more of the Horsemen with a couple other characters. Miss Fisher was pregnant at the time, so we got the equally gifted and gorgeous Lizzie Kaplan, who plays Lula. And I really liked her in this. I will also say that I've never actually seen this in full until now, because while I didn't mind the first Now You See Me, I never really felt the urge to go out and watch the sequel. And watching it on the cock, I can kind of see why I didn't really seek this out, because if you like Now You See Me, congratulations, you're just going to get more of this. We get returning characters like Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Ruffalo, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco. Well, those are returning actors playing returning characters, but you get the point. Morgan Freeman, as well as Michael Caine, and Daniel Radcliffe was included in this because he was continuing to get away from the Harry Potter, stamp that he received. And yeah, we don't really get anything fresh. And while this movie's only 5 to 10 minutes longer than the previous one, it feels way longer. John M. Chu directed this, who did Crazy Rich Asians, In the Heights, as well as Wicked, which just made a smidge of money at the box office. And by a smidge, I mean they need about 8 Brinks trucks to just take the opening weekend gross back to the bank. So this was written by Ed Don't Call Me King Solomon and Peter Schiavelli. And basically, they end up wrapped up in something that they didn't want to be wrapped up in. They basically go on the run and are asked by Daniel Radcliffe to help him out by taking a particular chip that, say it with me folks, can hack anything in the goddamn world. It felt like every movie was doing that for a while, and actually, to be fair, Mission Impossible 7 and 8 did that, but the whole point is a lot of movies did that kind of shit to where it got stale. That's probably a big reason why this felt so stale, but also, the banter doesn't really work. The tricks just aren't all that magical. Ironically, the $90 million budget was $15 million higher than the first one, and the opening gross was $7 million less. And then it also cost, since it cost $15 million more, you're like, okay, at least it'll clean up, with the overall box office. No. The first one made about 117-something million, and this one made $65 million at the U.S. box office. But worldwide gross, $334.8 million, which really was close, comparable even to the first one. So to prove there was an audience, the audience just wasn't in the U.S. And again, it just is more recycled stuff. We do see how Dylan, Don't Call Me Dusty Rhodes' character, a.k.a. the son of Shrike, Lionel Shrike, he saw what happened to his father in Jersey in 1984. That's a bit of an opening. We saw that reveal early or late in the first movie. And yeah, there's going to be full spoilers, by the way. So if you haven't seen Now You See Me 2, you're getting full spoilers. But his dad did say, I always keep something up my sleeve. I always have a Twix up my sleeve. I like the cookies and cream Twix. Whatever happened to those? So then it turns out that Atlas has been communicating with the Eye, which is in a weird pit. Actually, turns out it's Daniel Radcliffe, basically, getting in his head. So, Thaddeus, Morgan Freeman's character, who's been in jail ever since Dylan Dusty Rhodes put him there, says, the one thing I believe in is an eye for an eye. And wait, be patient, the Eye has a plan. The Eye has a plan basically to steal all their information. Because there's Okta, the software company, that is headed by a guy named Owen, that has a software, a cell phone technology that is basically going to hack and, and siphon and sell information on the black market. To be fair, that's probably what most of these cell phones do. I say as I'm recording on my cell phone, but whatever, let's just have fun with our memes and our games and Candy Crush and whatever the fuck it is you kids do on TikTok. This is well before TikTok, by the way. Dylan ends up kind of having to play dumb with some of these other people, such as a FBI guy named Cowan, and he knows that Dylan is in on this whole goddamn thing. He just can't prove it because we basically are set like a year after all this. They went into hiding, the Horseman did, but the Eye has a plan, and I just know it. Man, Lizzie is just beautiful. Good grief, she's beautiful. She shows up at Atlas's apartment and is doing the tricks and everything, pretending to have her head cut off, but she's actually over here. Then he ties her up. When is it going to be my turn for a woman to tie me up? And that's basically pretty much it right there. She is put in place of Henley, Fisher's character, and essentially, they set up all their plans to basically get into Owens' head. So Merritt does his mind, his men talk the mind taker thing. And gets in his head, and they do an earpiece thing, and they're basically going to make him tell the story and tell the truth about the Okta software. But now they're going to be exposed because an anonymous tip was received. Just a tip, that is. And they know Dylan is the fifth horseman, so now everybody has to go on the run. The horsemen go on the run, they get in a black tube, and then suddenly, they end up in China. Mancow, preferably. Actually, it's Macau. Macau! Yeah, Macau! Yeah. Nobody that's not a wrestling fan will get that. And Thaddeus has vowed revenge, and he talks to Dylan, basically says, oh, by the way, you got to break me out of jail, and I will help you rescue the horsemen. Because we get some flashbacks also of Merritt dealing with his, twin brother Chase. Played also by Woody Harrelson, hence the twin moniker. But yeah, that whole thing didn't really work because it didn't really go anywhere. Like he was there, but he just wasn't utilized that much. It was just more of the same. And it turns out he hypnotized him with a pizza box trick. Pizza makes me sleepy and hypnotized, by the way, but that's the carb coma. This humor is just not good. Again, Lizzie is very delightful, but I don't think really was given much to do. And it turns out that Owens' partner, Walter, played by Daniel Radcliffe, is very much alive and says, hey, you steal this from me and you'll be fine. I mean, you won't be fine, but I'm not going to tell you that yet. And they have to basically hack or, steal this weird chip thing that you could put, that's about as big as a playing card, conveniently, so we can do more fancy magic tricks. And they go to a Chinese magic shop, and it turns out actually that both of these people, the grandmother or mother, I'm not actually totally sure, I think grandmother and the young lad are both part of the Eye, but we don't know that yet, even though I think it's pretty fucking obvious they are. So Thaddeus and Dusty Rhodes are going, Dylan and Dusty Rhodes are going off, and they're going to go over to Mancow, China. Mancow, by the way, also is part of some of the worst moments in the last era of WCW. Imagine how much that covers. And Atlas is talking to the Eye. He talks to the Eye on the phone, which the idea is he's going to get the card, and then they're going to do this thing where they're going to basically give the card, the little chip thing, to the Eye, and then they're going to be free. But they're not going to be free. Lula charms Jack by basically taking his wallet and his belt. I will not say what I'm thinking. I'm just going to move on from that. And she charms Jack. She charms me. She charms pretty much everybody in the audience. She's just a beautiful woman. So, Jack tries the whole men talk the mind taker thing on Chase, but it doesn't work. And there's always, there's always more than what's going on, beneath the than what's going on the surface, is what Thaddeus basically says, paraphrasing to Dylan Dusty Rhodes. And we get a montage of the plan thing. So we're about an hour into this movie, and yeah, we just do their. I don't know. I just don't know why this is like, it's like a bad Ocean sequel. And not that all the Oceans 11, 12, 13, or 8 were like fantastic. They had more charm than this. Also, turns out that Thaddeus speaks Mandarin, because it's obvious that Thaddeus is in on this whole goddamn thing. And there's a safe that's in this shop, along with the wristwatch thing and the sarcophagus and various other things that were his dad's. His dad used to go there. But essentially, Walter basically has done all this because he wanted to get the Horsemen back for what they did to his dad. Now, who was the dad? It was Michael Caine, by the way, just in case the accent didn't give it away. And Dylan shows up in the market when Atlas basically is besieged and gets him to, hands him the card, tries to take it, but, but shoves him out and basically fights some people, but then he gets knocked out. So now they got to rescue Dylan, and they got to come up with a plan to basically get him, because they do like father like son. The villains put him in the safe and put him in the water, and now he's gonna drown. Well, this is fucking stupid. This is terrible. Thaddeus is talking to Art. Thank you for delivering him to me. All this, if I find out you have anything to do with this. I think Morgan Freeman could take Michael Caine a fight, but then again, they're both about, the age of, Aquarius. No, they're about the age of the Roman Empire. And they end up saving Dylan. The Horsemen do. There we go. There we are. So we're entering the final conclusion here. And they talk to the grandmother and the grandson. And basically the tarot card that is the theme of this, was the Fool. The Fool is a clean slate and can be whatever he wants to be. A mimic, that kind of stuff. Still better than the movie tarot, but that's not saying much. So they're going to go to London. They're going to pull all this up. They're going to find a way basically to save Dylan Dusty Rhodes and get that thing back. And get everything back. But they do the 3-card, find the lady thing, that kind of stuff. They do the 3-card trick. Jack does. And Atlas does something stopping the rain. And there was also a running theme with Lula pulling a hat out of a rabbit. But it was very, very messy, but she learns from that and doesn't end up killing this bird, this beautiful dove that she has. And there we go. That's it. That is just basically getting us to our conclusion here, where they are captured after trying to race away on motorcycles. They're put on a plane. They end up giving the card to, Daniel Radcliffe. So basically, oh no, Harry Potter has pulled off the ultimate magic. Kind of funny that Harry Potter was talking about magic and everything, or Daniel was talking about magic in this. But now they are suddenly just going to be shoved out the goddamn plane. Well, oh boy, they're shoved out the plane. This is terrible. It's like, man, Lula got saved from being knifed just to end up like this. So everything's terrible. They're pushed out the plane, and then suddenly they're on the Thames. Body of water. And it's all a trick. They managed to get the plane there. They managed to do all this, pull all this trick. They show how they did everything. It's silly and over-explained. And that's basically it. And then they find the card thing on Daniel Radcliffe. All this stuff, it's just terrible. The Horsemen disappear. Thaddeus ends up explaining to Dylan Dusty Rhodes, hey, by the way, your dad and I were actually partners. We were working partners, but pretended to be rivals. Your dad was a good guy. I challenged him, this kind of stuff, but your dad was a good guy. Why couldn't you tell me any of this anymore? Because we need a sequel. He couldn't say that, but it would have been meta if he had. Actually, it would have been lazy writing, but they would have called it meta. So the Horsemen had questions about what's going on with Thaddeus. Daniel Radcliffe and Michael Caine have been arrested. The FBI couldn't get a hold of the Horsemen. And pay no attention to the curtain. Oh, wait, there's a door behind the curtain. And they go down these steps. And suddenly, it's panned out, and it's just an eye in a spiral staircase. A spiral staircase, as it were. And that is Now You See Me Too. That is pretty much it with that movie. It is really nothing of note. It's not an awful movie, but it's often boring. I didn't even care for the first one. as much as some people did. I still gave it a more positive grade than this, but now the main reason that I watched this and the first one and this is just in case the mystery movie that is coming up about 24 hours from this recording, if it happens to be Now You See Me, Now You Don't, then at least I'm caught up and I can review that. And if it's not, I might not bother watching Now You See Me, Now You Don't, because I don't know if it's going to be very good. I'm hoping for an indie movie, but in the meantime, that is pretty much it for the magic trick. It's Now You See Me, Now You Don't probably want to anymore, but you will, at least for the interim, because I have more shit to record, because I got a view goal to hit. 10,000 more views. Unless you're watching this way in the future, and I've already hit it, and I have probably vaporized or turned to a puddle of jelly. But until then, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Wright, until we disappear into the abyss again, happy trails to you.